everybody, welcome back to the channel. On today's video, Aaron, Ranch Fairy, and I are talking about blood trails. We're going to be talking about which shots produced the most blood on the ground, which shots did not, and some of the different factors that impact blood trails. Shot placement, the way that the animal is moving, different broadheads, stuff like that. As you guys may have noticed the last couple years, YouTube's made it really hard to show blood in these videos. So we just decided to demonetize this video. That way we don't have to go to the black and white screen to kind of hide the blood. We just want to be able to talk about this topic and not necessarily hide anything. So if you guys like this type of educational stuff, you can go over to our website and check out the Deer School. It's something that we spent a bunch of time on to try to help you guys become better deer hunters. There's lots of video content, written content. It's basically a whole online course about how to be a better deer hunter. Also, while you're on the website, you can check out our hats, our shirts. We've got a bunch of cool stuff on there. So let's get to the video and talk blood trails with Ranch Fairy.
Top of the morning.
I don't know if you'd consider 11 o'clock top of the morning, but
yeah, right.
It's kind of bottom of the morning.
We went to bed at 3:30 a.m. We're out there.
We had a busy night.
Yes, we did. Thankfully.
Yeah, right. That's the goal.
Yep.
It was fun. It was pretty busy last night.
It was busy
Everybody
last night.
saw pigs.
Yep. Yep.
So,
like I told Ted last night, I was the only one that had a sit where I didn't see a pig.
Right.
And then he went to that same spot last night and saw a pig.
and he got mobbed. He got run over by the little kids. He had a whole pile of little shoats come in there and try to bite his little feet off.
Yep. But before we run out of here and head back north, we want to talk to y'all about the blood trails that we've seen, because we get gobs and gobs of questions about blood trails in general.
We have a small data set, as the Rocket Man would say.
Yes.
I've talked about this from a physiologic standpoint. There's no way you're ever going to predict what's going to happen with the blood trail.
No, you can't, and you can't influence it.
Right. Probably one major factor in this question, maybe as much as saying, is sharpness.
Yes.
Right? Like if you got a sharper broadhead, you're just getting a more efficient cut, and you're getting
that's kind of the point, is that there's so many factors, and as you guys are going to see in these comparisons, there's so many different factors involved in creating a blood trail. It's not just as simple as screwing on a giant broadhead in the front and saying, oh, I got a big hole, I'm going to have more blood.
The longer I do this, the longer I study, write all this stuff down, have data sets like this. It's fun to have 5 people shooting. You get to see a whole lot of stuff like condensed.
Yeah, right at one time.
Right, it isn't a deer every month, and then you kind of forget some things. We're here y'all were here 2 days, and we shot snot out of them, right? The sharp thing is actually about killing them faster.
Yeah.
And not worrying about the blood trail on the ground. Sure, if it's dull, it's not going to help anything. You're not getting a blood trail either. Right. You're not going to help. Okay?
The first pig Greg killed, perfect shot, right in front of the heart. Exit comes out, offside in the neck, blood everywhere.
Yeah, right. It was phenomenal.
But that was a front of heart artery shot, right?
Absolutely. So just for y'all's reference, when y'all see on the ground very thick and kind of ropey blood, that is an arterial hit. Mm-hmm. So lung blood's going to get air in it from the actual lungs pumping, and well, they're inhaling, blowing. They're actually blowing air out the holes. That's why it's kind of foamy. When you see long streaks of real thick, ropey blood, streaks though, livers will just drop out.
Yeah.
That is arterial, because it's coming right out of the heart, and it's really thick and viscous. It's not the same look. When I saw the one that you shot last night, the second one you shot last night, and I could just see, it was, you could look in the trail was here, and what was down the middle, that means that was a nosebleed, and it was thick.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't sprayed out like that. But back to the first one, we struggled on that one because it was dark. Right? I mean,
yeah. The biggest thing that was weird about the first one that I shot, I think, was, and it's very different than a real deer hunting situation, is we're hunting with this little light under the feeder, so you can see about as far as the legs of the feeder. Past that, you can't see anything. We had a bunch of
it's legal for everybody who doesn't know that. It's legal to shoot pigs in the dark with a light.
Shot goes off, everything scatters, and immediately, as soon as they step out from the dirt that's under the feeder, we lose track of them. Had it been daylight, we would have been able to watch the pig run at least probably 40 yards.
Sure. Oh yeah.
Which would have
the direction
given
of travel that it went on.
A much better idea of what was going on. Instead, we got confused by sound in the brush, and we basically just tracked the wrong way the whole time.
Yeah.
So, I guess
there's a lot of things that went into it, but let's talk about the hits themselves and compare and contrast them. You're really going to see what we're talking about when we mean inconsistent blood trails. And these are on good quality killing shots.
Absolutely.
Every one of them. Greg's that he killed first 60, night. Zach's that you're 60. Talking about right now that you shot in the dark at the feeder. The one I killed last night. And then the second pig you killed last night. 2 of those 4 shots, difficult blood trails. 2 of the 4 shots, blood immediately and blood paved all the way to the animal. And these are with
not giant broadheads.
Not giant broadheads. You shot yours with single bevels.
Which, and one thing that I think is interesting is this is, you know, in theory, this is a bigger broadhead. There's more cutting surface area, I guess, on that broadhead.
Yeah.
And just in that situation,
just
the
totally
angle, it plugged it up.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's totally about where it hits. On Greg's, there was blood immediately.
Right for the go.
On your second one last night, blood immediately.
Oh, there was blood on the side of the feeder.
Blood on the side of the feeder. Right. But those shots were both basically heart shots and arterial shots.
Right, that's correct.
Where you're taking off the front of the heart or the top of the heart.
That's correct.
Or you're taking off the
major arteries.
Major arteries that are shooting off of the heart.
Absolutely.
So you got high blood pressure.
That's correct.
And it's spraying out immediately.
It's a direct correlation to the amount of blood we saw.
Yep.
Right.
That one you just talked about a minute ago that you shot at the feeder in the dark and we couldn't really tell which direction the pig went. That thing did not bleed.
Right.
It only went 80 yards.
Right.
You know, it was a perfect double lung hit just above the heart.
It was a little higher.
Yep.
Right on the crease.
But
there was the U-shaped cut. I mean, everything was there.
Like you've been talking about, though, that was a broadside shot, and it goes right through the crease and comes out in the crease on the other side.
Yeah.
And as the pig is running and moving its shoulders back and forth, it's blocking the hole.
The holes are going like that.
Yep. So there's no blood escaping the hole. Even when y'all found it dead, there wasn't like a ton of blood on the ground or a ton of blood in the hole, in the entry hole.
So for anybody who hasn't seen my stuff on this, most people imagine that when a broadhead goes through something, there is a line that is a cut, whatever shape it is, that is an in line all the time. Nothing could be further from the truth unless you shoot them back. Okay, and then that's less lethal. But when you get up near the shoulder, the chest wall sits still, and the shoulder runs. Your shoulder does the same thing. That's why you can do all this crazy gymnastic stuff because it rolls around.
They have a lot more skin right there, right? Or a lot more like a lot more that can move around.
There's several things that move, independently of one another.
Literally, the muscles are moving around.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's moving like a plate over the hole because the chest wall is fixed. The rib cage is fixed. And you've got this piece of meat moving like that. And then if you hit just a lung hit, it's not a lot of blood pressure.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really want to be out. It'll go wherever. In fact, there's a condition called a pneumothorax where the air can't escape. Now, it collapses the lungs because it gets stuck inside the chest wall. But it actually presses the lungs down. Guess what? There's more space. So the blood that's coming out, there's more area in there for it to go because the organs are compressed. And it happens very commonly. And then when we had the 2 arterial hits, Greg's was awful.
Those are also the similar types of hits that we get out of trees sometimes too, where if you shoot slightly quartering away and enter right behind the shoulder and it exits almost at the base of the neck, even on a deer, your exit hole is low.
Right.
So all that blood, it's just gravity.
That's
Greg's
down. First stinger deer. When he shot that one, and the blood is very thick right here.
Yep, it's arterial blood that's coming out, and it's low, and the hole is low, so the gravity's pulling the blood out, and it's spraying all over the ground. Right. In contrast, that one we just talked about of yours that didn't bleed hardly at all, but only went 80 yards. I mean, still a perfect shot.
Right.
I hit that one last night.
Testing this 3-blade broadhead, right?
Yeah, 200 grain Ranch Fairy broadhead. And you can see the arrow. It's got blood way up on the fletchings. And the shot was pretty good. It was back of the lungs, liver, guts, entry, but it was quartering away hard, and the exit was in the crease on the other side.
Correct.
But it was high, and I was on the ground, so it was shooting flat right through the pig.
Right.
And we didn't find blood for 50, 60 yards.
Yeah.
Then eventually we found blood, and we tracked little drops for another 30 yards, and then it opened up. And we got to the pig, it maybe went 110 yards or so. And when we got to the pig, you immediately said, look at that entry hole. Plugged.
Right, there was a little bit of gut. It pushed out the hole. That's a pneumothorax. That's them when she's drawing her breath, it forces air pressure inside and actually push the guts out of the hole, because you punch the diaphragm too.
Yep.
So that air can escape the lung, go through the diaphragm, and push the guts out. So we had a one-holer.
You had a pass-through hit with the arrow, so you got 2 holes, which is always better than 1.
Right.
On the entry, you can see the guts coming out of that hole. It's completely blocking that thing.
Yeah, right.
And the holes are pretty high up on the sides.
Right.
So the blood's got to fill all the way up to those things before it starts pumping out.
Yeah.
On the other side, there was a decent amount of blood running down the side of its body.
That's right.
And that was the blood that I'm assuming we were finding in the last 30 or 40 yards. So the blood trail did pick up, but it was, like you said, annoying.
It was annoying.
That was interesting to go from that pig, lethal hit, pretty much died on its feet, 110 yards, and then went to Zach's, and there's blood on the feeder immediately.
Yeah, with a single bevel.
Yep, with a single bevel.
Not make blood trails.
Right, but it's all about what you hit inside the animal. And the whole point of this is to say, like, you can make a great shot and not have much blood with literally any broadhead. That doesn't mean that the animal that you just shot isn't laying 80 yards away.
That's correct.
Or 100 yards away.
Right.
So sometimes you might have to be really diligent on your blood trailing to get to that point. It's not a function of this so much as it is what this hits. And there's so many things that are going on inside the animal's body that we don't think about as hunters.
Right,
We
so
just
we
think about a
hear-
hole, like you said.
There's a lot of people that jump into threads and stuff and say, hey, it's all about shot placement. That's how you get blood trails. It's complete BS.
Yeah.
That's the point of this discussion. Shot placement kills them. They go down fast. Then you may have a blood trail. And just for everybody's reference, just because people worry about this stuff, Greg's pig was shot with a Magnus 4-blade, Black Hornet, the foamer, that I had stropped. Okay, so it was legit sharp. We shot one with a 3-blade. This is my head.
Yep.
Okay, and I had been stropping it yesterday. We shot the hell out of them and then sharpened it back up and shot that. And then we shot 2 with single bevels.
Yeah, and the 2 with single bevels both went the same distance. Both were good shots. The same broadhead. Totally different blood trails. Completely different blood
Both
trails.
pass-throughs is important to say
pass-throughs.
too. Both
Yeah.
pass-throughs.
We didn't leave an arrow in anything.
No.
That's one of the things why I like the test lab.
Yeah.
We could get a bunch of people down here and see all kind of cool things. And just, it's better to know that you have some sense about what you're saying than actually just anecdotally say, well, probably it's going to be the... Because this is the rubber met the road here,
Yep.
Yeah.
right?
That's right.
And we haven't had, of all the pigs y'all have shot, I don't know that we've had a... Jake broke the one's back, but I don't think we've had a big... This is the first time we had 2 gushers.
Yeah, we haven't had many.
Like we've had little spots. They didn't go anywhere. Mm-hmm. But we haven't had Chris's that he shot up front.
That's what I was going to say next is like, what's our percentage for like really, we would have to go back and look at the deer stuff. I think you said one time like 2, 3, 4 out of 10 might be gushers, might be blood everywhere.
Maybe.
And then the rest of them are going to be, maybe there's a straight double lung hit that runs through both sides and the holes are blocked. And you've got to deal with tracking and stuff like that. But the one common thing is they're all shot right and they're all dying immediately and they're all dying within 100 yards.
Right.
I mean,
right. We didn't have a 300-yard blood trail. That was
I mean, as far as the animal dying really fast, that's exactly. But you can't shoot for the blood trail. You shoot to kill them, and then you deal with the blood trail, whatever it ends up as after the fact.
Absolutely.
I think big things too. Once you shoot, just always trying to pay attention to what you saw.
Where the animal
goes, because there's always a chance, no matter what broadhead you shoot, that they're not going to open up. I mean, I've shot deer with guns before, and they don't bleed for 50 yards. So, a big part of finding the animal is just keeping that line of travel on them. We're lucky enough to have these cameras to go back and play things, but as soon as it happens, maybe take a picture, take mental notes, whatever it may be, say that's the tree, that's the trail, and that's really going to help you because that's going to cut off 40 yards of your blood trail that you don't really have to worry about anything. You can go to that spot and just check there and then kind of follow it up from there. That's
and it
really
does
help.
If y'all will just get a selfie stick and have your phone and open it wide open, see where the arrow hit, and then you often see things when they're running, and then you look at the video and go, nope.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw him go in the bushes, but he went 10 yards left.
But
he went into a bush. There's 2 bushes that look alike. One of them's 30 yards over here, one of them's 30 yards over here, and he went by this bush. And then you walk over there in the dark and it looks completely different. And then you walk around for 3 hours and you're like, I can't find any blood. And then you realize, I was on the wrong path the entire freaking time.
Yeah.
But if you watch that pig that I shot last night, luckily you can see him running off through the frame and then see the dust disappear in the corner of the frame right up into the upper left of the feeder. So we didn't even track at the feeder.
No.
We walked right to that spot.
Right.
So we cut the blood trail in half immediately because we already knew we had that spot marked on where it was going.
Right.
And on the arterial hits, it doesn't matter because there's just blood everywhere and it's wonderful, and you're
That one
high-fiving the whole way
was awesome.
to the animal. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But that's where people get really tripped up. And we've had that happen before, Ted, with your buck in Missouri a few years ago. That thing was smoked. It took me, him, and Jake 2 hours to find the blood trail. Just all of us on our hands and knees. And it was a gushing blood trail. We just totally misjudged where the thing
Oh, you were in the
went.
wrong, like you were here and it was over here.
Yeah,
10
it was
feet
like
away
we were
from-
looking at the footage and trying to compare it in the dark, and it was like, yeah, we're looking around. It's like, man, maybe you missed him or something. And then all of a sudden, we just stumble across it, and it's just paved.
Yeah.
It's like, how in the hell did we miss that this whole time?
Right.
That's why it's so important, like you said, the landmark stuff. Immediately after the shot, you got to pay so close attention, and that is the time when it's so hard to pay attention because you're just losing it, you know.
And honestly,
But
it's so variable too. I
that's
mean, I'm sure
important.
we could come up with infinite examples too, where there's blood on impact to there's maybe not blood for 50 to 80 yards. Doesn't mean that the deer's not dead and within 120, 150, but you know, that's so variable. Make the shot, watch it, get that line of travel, and that's going to just help you out so much. And there's going to be variable blood. I mean, no matter what broadhead you're shooting, it doesn't matter. We've seen so many different examples of it, and I think the biggest thing is if you're shooting something that's sharp, that's going to get good penetration, you're going to get more lethal hits, and then your blood trails aren't, you know, they're always going to vary no matter
Unpredictable.
what. Yeah.
They're unpredictable.
And then I want to make one more comment. This is something I started doing about 5 or 6 years ago because they're really hard to find. And when you shoot the big boars, you can smell them. And I've found it probably, 20% of them by just getting downwind and going, oh, maybe. And just keep walking into the wind and you find them. But there was no blood. Mm-hmm. Everybody gets excited and all this stuff. But for your own education, remember, every deer is a learning experience. If you just amble up on it, walk in circles around the stupid thing, and try to figure out where it came from.
Yeah.
And see if there's any blood trail at all, because you can always go backwards. Mm-hmm. Give it 20 minutes and try to learn something, because it's a valuable piece of information to do that.
Yep. I shot a
Yeah.
buck in muzzleloader season with a gun, ran its whole rest of its life and never bled a drop. So it's like, I mean, you can talk about variable.
You never
hit
know.
him with the 295 grain Barnes, and it ain't gonna bleed.
All right, well, it's been fun. Y'all are always
Appreciate it.
welcome to come back to the test lab and test things.
You take good
And you're
care of
actually physically angry at pigs.
I do not like them. I have some hatred for these beasts. I shot that thing last night and I was like, yeah, man. Yeah, I grit my teeth the whole time.
So I think Warb will probably come back.
Pig now.
Yeah, right. Warb might come back to raise hell with them again.
Yeah.
Maybe give you a shotgun with a turkey choke or something. You just rampage.
Oh yeah.
You have to wear a loincloth if you do that, though.
Something semi-automatic, fully automatic, where we can, send some lead downrange really quick would be good.
Oh, yeah.
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 Anyway, we had lots of fun, per usual, down here with RF and the Rocket Man. And we learned a lot, and we filmed a lot, and we got some pigs. See you guys.
See ya.
Later on.